welcome guys. Welcome to my first video here on uh, basically source modding on Xbox. So that includes like Portal 2, Left 4 Dead 2, TF2, Half-Life 2. Um, I know a lot. There's basically this video is long overdue because there's been a lot of drama over people being leeches, I guess, and actually people that are able to make commands. I'm trying to rectify this problem right now. So basically, this video is going to teach you about the end fire command, and honestly, if you can master just this one fucking command, like, you can manipulate any entity, and you can make all those game types and shit that you see that I have, that anybody else has, you know, like, you can pretty much make anything. So this video is going to be pretty basic, so if you already have some knowledge of Headfire and you actually know what you're doing, it's probably not the video for you, but for anybody else that's trying to get into actually modding on Xbox or modding through config files, this is what you're going to want to watch. So you're probably going to want to watch the whole thing. Anyway, so let's get into this. So basically, we're right here, we're just going to be editing entities. Now, entities are essentially just, they're like physical objects in the world, basically, of gaming, right? So a player is an entity, a smokestack is an entity, the ammo you pick up is an entity, like that door you walk through, you know, that's all, those are all entities, right? So if you're making a script, you need entities. Obviously there's invisible ones you don't see doing things on the map. You could find a list of them on the Valve software website, but for now I'll just be editing arbitrary ones with the endfire command. So first thing you're going to want to do here is open up a blank text file. You can use Notepad++ if you want. I honestly don't give a fuck. I'm just going to use regular Notepad because I don't really want to fucking find my Notepad++. It's somewhere. I don't know. That's overcomplicating it. So if you want to learn how to make basically anything in this game, if you can understand that command right there, you're golden. And I'm going to explain this command right now and the layout of it because that's the most important part. And if you can understand that, you can make anything. So basically, I'll do examples afterwards, but let me give you the layout. So, add fire. When you're doing the add fire command, this is the layout. It's add fire, and you target then your class name, and then your input, and then it's going to be your parameters for the input. Obviously, sometimes there might not be parameters, but, and then after that, there's going to be your delay, and then after that, it's the times to fire, whatever, you know, command you're actually firing with the input or with the parameters, and that's it. That right there is the key to making any entity. I mean, it sounds really basic, and it is really basic, and I guess people find it hard to understand because, you know, there's no real guides out there explaining this shit, so you start out, you have no fucking idea what you're doing, but yeah, that's modding, is just this command, mainly. You'll spam it a lot. So, basically with endfire, you can edit, I'll list them right here, you can edit just direct inputs, you can also edit key values, and you can also add outputs, and that's it. These are the three things that it edits, and those are the three things that actually, those are what make all game types. So inputs are basically like just direct commands to an entity, and all you gotta do, I'll just say, like, yeah, you know, I don't even need to list that, but yeah, it's just a direct command, right? So if you wanted to do an input, it would be like, and fire, let's just say we have a game text or something. That's it, like, that's your input right there. It's just that fire, the target name or class name of an entity, and then display. A key value, if you wanted to edit a key value of a specific entity, it's basically end fire, and then your entity name, target or class name of it, and and then it's just add output. And I know this sounds counterintuitive because we're not actually adding an output with this, but yeah, then your key value would be some sort of attribute of the entity itself. So it's something you can't really. I mean, sometimes there's inputs that do edit key values automatically. You can use those if you want, but for the most part, most entities don't have. You have to if you want to edit like the appearance of it. So let's say you have like a smokestack or something. You'd have to edit a key value. Um, I'll just stay with the game text because it makes sense and I already have that written down. So let's just say if I wanted to change the hold time of it or something, hold time, uh, that would be a key value, hold time. And the hardest part about modding, I guess in general, when you're new, is if you can understand this, it's just gonna be finding what the key values are. Because if you want to find inputs or outputs, they're all on the Valve developer website. But key values aren't. Like, it'll say key values that exist, but it doesn't tell you what the actual names are in code. Like, if you went to the website, it'd probably say, like, hold time like that. That's not an actual key value. It doesn't have a space. You can find them by loading up. Well, there's a couple of ways to do it, but I guess the the most easy way I'll give you right now, because I can talk about other ways later, is you just load up Hammer, and that's located in the source SDK that you have on Steam. And you can use the entity tool, and you can make whatever entity you want, and it'll list all the key values, and you put them all in, right? After you put them in, you just save your blank map, and you open up the file that it saves. It saves a VMF file. Open that up in any text editor, and it'll display just a file of the key values and their attributes on the side. You basically take copy those key values into a script and just put it in this format that we're writing down, and you're good. Finally, there's outputs, and basically outputs are just they're basically just commands that fire either corresponding inputs or corresponding key values on another entity. So, for example, for this one, I guess I'll use player as an example, just because. So again, we're going to be using add output, and after add output, there's, for whatever entity you're doing, there's set outputs that are already attached to them. So for player, there's like on kill, on fire user, and on ignite. On kill isn't what you think it is. It's not when the entity dies, it's when the entity's killed by the kill command, so you're probably not going to be using that. And you can use on fire user and stuff, but that can get a little glitchy. So we're just, for the most straightforward thing, if we want to edit the players, I guess, we're just going to use on ignite, and we're just going to ignite everybody. After this, the format is now going to be the same thing. Here, I'm going to write the format for this down here, because it's literally just the same thing now after in our output. So it's fire target name, or I guess, or class name too, right? And then right here, let's just say we have, it's our add output, because this is, I'm talking about adding outputs, and then you have your quotation, and then in here you have your output name, and then after that you have your target name or class name, and this is gonna look the same as above, except now we just have a comma, and then it would be your input, and then another comma, and then parameters, and then another, and then it's gonna have another comma, and then I mean, it looks exactly the same because it is exactly the same delay, and then finally here you have your times to fire, and that's it. So if basically these two things right here are all you need to know about the end fire command. If you can understand these little templates that I've provided here, it's like a mathematical formula. All you got to do is just plug in whatever the fuck you're editing, and you're good to go. So let's say we want to use the point client command, which is the command that allows you to force other players to write something to the console. So first off, we have to create the entity, because you know there might already be one on the map, but we don't know. So let's just spawn one anyway. So okay, so now that we have a point client command on the map, we're gonna do on ignite point client command, which is the name of our entity, and then this is the input that we're gonna be using, uh, which just is gonna be firing command, obviously. And now there's just the parameters. So let's say we want to give everybody no clip, which is a bad idea. Don't do it. But let's just do it now. There we go. Or you know what? If you want to add something else to the parameters, you just put a little semicolon, and we can add another one. So let's give them Buddha too. Once you put a comma though, it's going straight into the delay. Like as you can see up here, you know, between between this comma and this comma, it's always going to be parameters. So let's say you didn't want to add a parameter, like if you were firing like a direct input and you wanted to go straight into, like, I'm not trying to overcomplicate this or anything, but hopefully you're still with me here. Let's say we had like a game text, and we might want, let's say we want to let's say you just want to display it, right? Basically, now if I want to put a delay on how long it displays, even though display doesn't have any parameters, I can't just do comma and then put the delay here, because it's not going to work, because it thinks that my parameter is 5 when there is no parameter. You have to put just another comma like that, and then you can put your delay right there. And say you want to put max times to fire, you put that afterwards. Yeah, we don't really need to worry about max times to fire for that. Let's just leave it as that, and that's it right there. This I'm just gonna leave it without a delay. Yeah, you've now basically right here, you've edited a player so that when they're ignited by the ignite input, it will give them no clip and Buddha. So basically, after you've made an output, you'd obviously need to fire the corresponding input for it to actually do anything. So you just do endfire player ignite. I'm gonna actually move that down here. I know a lot of you might be wondering too, if you're new to this, because you see a lot of people, I guess, that type in different formats a little bit. Like, for example, some people might have a space right here. You might ask me if you need that space. Yeah, you can if you want. I don't do it because I'm fucking lazy as fuck, and that's an extra key that I don't really want to have to click. A lot of you might also be asking, do you need this right here? Quite honestly, no. I just put it there just to help you guys to understand this thing right here, but you don't need that shit. If you look at my scripts, none of them had that, because I mean, if it's not needed, why the fuck put it there, right? Like, I can't be going big dig mods if I got fucking quotation marks that I don't need and spaces I don't need all over my goddamn file, man. That's just extra space. Fuck that shit. I want to put as many mods into my mods as I can, so I get rid of those bytes because I don't need them. Alright, so basically, if you've understood this so far, you should be good to go to make anything else. I could explain the delay and the times to fire a little bit here too with the input, because it's a little different. If you wanted to add a delay to a direct input, it's going to be a little different. Basically, you're gonna have to put instead of like a comma or whatever you normally see in our format, you're gonna have to use a colon, and then you put the delay right there. That only applies to just, you know, inputs like this, where it's like a straight input. Yeah, if you need a delay, all you need to do is put that there and then your number, and you're good. But most of the time, you wouldn't really need a delay on that. There's only like rare times where you might actually need that, so you don't have to worry about it too much. You don't need to get that complicated yet. Mainly just try and understand key values, outputs, and inputs, and try and code a couple of things on PC, test it out, put it in your config files, and if you can start making entities and editing entities, you're golden. Like, if you could just get these 3 things and you can start working between multiple entities, and you can make scripts that are as good as mine. So I guess that went a little bit longer than I expected, but I was trying to cover all my bases here. So if you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below, or if you want me to make more videos on showing how to mod or more examples of this, just let me know. Otherwise, if if there's not enough motivation for this, I mean, I'll probably just leave just this video then. But yeah, if you guys want to see more, just hit me up. I'm down to make it. It's not too hard for me because it's basically going on my like 3 years ago. I stopped modding. 3 years memory from 3 years ago. But yeah, have a good one, guys.